this is a podcast where I share mainly all my knitting progress, but I also like to talk about spinning, a little bit of sewing. Lately, I acquired quilting, and I also do some art journaling. But this episode will be focusing on the knitting because I am on vacation. As you might be able to tell, I'm in a new location. I'm at my father-in-law's or on my father-in-law's balcony in the middle of Toronto. So you'll probably be able to catch some of the background noise, which is just a common thing at any time of the day. So I hope I'll be able to filter something out in the editing, but we'll see how successful I am with that. Um, you'll also have to excuse the glasses because it's 7 a.m. in the morning. We have bright sunlight, which is gorgeous. The day is going to be beautiful. But my daughter's still asleep. My husband is out with his father to play some golf. So I thought I'd catch the quiet morning hour to record a podcast because this is basically my last opportunity. And I really wanted to record a podcast on our vacation here in Canada, visiting my husband's family. And so here we are. I hope the new circumstances are okay and this isn't totally unbearable. So bear with me. I have two finished objects for you today, two works in progress and two acquisitions. So this is obviously just the stuff I brought with me on vacation or acquired on vacation. But yeah, I did get some knitting done and I thought I would show you and I thought it'd be fun to have an episode from the other side of the globe. Not quite, but nearly. So yeah, let's get started. And I threw my done knits over there, so sorry. Yeah, the finished objects. So the first one, to no surprise, and I actually already finished that before we left for vacation, is my Metamorphic sweater by Andrea Mowry, and it is done. It was basically done the last time. But yeah, I bound off and I've worn it a few times. Not too many because it's definitely gotten warmer, but on the odd chilly night, this was really nice to throw over. It's definitely quite the warm sweater, so it'll be mainly nice in the fall. But yes, I am in love. I love it. The fit is really nice. It currently fits over my baby bump, but I think it'll fit like a boyfriend's sweater more or less. Once I'm back to my sort of normal shape. And yeah, the arms are really nice and I can throw it over. I'm going to be able to wear it in the sun. But it's not like it's already 20 something degrees. So yeah, I really like it. I like the neck. I think it's a crew neck, is what you might call this. And yeah, I like my sleeves fairly long. So that's that. And yeah, what else is there to say? So you knit this sweater inside out. So you have the pearl texture. Ooh, shade. Very good. Sorry, this is not going to be easy to show today. Yeah, you have the pearl texture on the outside. And you basically just knit one row with the one color and one row with the other inside out. So it's just a stockinette stitch sweater basically. And you do this really beautiful slip stitch detail in the front and back and on the arms and underarms. And what I love most about this detail is that it on the back side hides the jog that you would have where you change the color. That becomes totally invisible that way. And yes, I really like this. It's very cozy and soft. The yarns I used for this, the last time now, I mentioned this a million times on this podcast because this used to be my shifty sweater, which I was working on for over a year before this. is the background color is Filcolana Pernilla in the charcoal colorway. I keep saying charcoal because I believe that's what it's called, but I actually don't know. And then the contrast color, the blue, is my own hand spun that I made out of Malabriga Noob in the Persia colorway and a braid from Regenbogenwolle in the Raphael colorway. And yes, very happy with this. And I think I'm going to wear it. I think it's going to pill. It already started building up quite the fluff. So I think it's going to be a heavy pilling one, but not too bad for now. So let's hope a bit of gleaning will help this issue. But yeah, can only recommend this pattern. Sorry, fell down on the floor. The second finished object is a little bit of a, can I say redemption project? Sometimes I have the feeling of a word, might be right, but I'm actually not sure. English is not my first language, in case you haven't noticed. But yeah, this is what I call my redemption project for my Gone Shifty sweater. Because I really loved the texture pattern that you knit with the Shifty, and also the way it plays with handspun and all, that I decided to cast on the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry, which uses that exact same pattern. And yeah, and the reason was I had some of the yarn left over from my metamorphic sweater from the hand spun, and I really wanted to use it. Still have some left over, but that's kind of how this project came along. So this is the leftover I still have. It was obviously a little bit more after I finished my metamorphic, but I kind of wanted to use it a bit more. And I thought it very fitting to use it in the Shift Cowl. And yeah, you use 3 colors for this. So I need to see, I don't see anything on my screen. So I have this gray contrast color, which is this. Then I have this quote unquote solid orange color, which is actually a variegated yarn, or semi-solid, I guess you would call it, from Skeiny Dipping Yarns in the KaroKirsch base, and I believe the color is called Autumn. Again, I'm not sure, but I have all my projects in Ravelry and all the yarns linked, and if I know the colorway name, I usually put it there. So if you're curious, you can check that there. This has been like, yeah, I think I made some ankle warmers. No, not ankle. Wrist warmers, they're called, with this yarn, and my mom used a bit of them for some stockings she made. So this is just a skein that has been kicking around in my stash and is getting smaller and smaller, and I keep finding projects for it, which is really nice. And the background color is actually a handspun of mine that I think you've only seen my plans for the dyeing for. So, I mean, this color changing yarn, the blue, gray, yellowish yarn in the background, is all that handspun. Like in the pattern, Andrea Mowry has knit you sections where you swap out the foreground and the background with those 3 yarns you're using. So every yarn, I believe, is the foreground sometimes and sometimes the background. But I decided, since my background handspun has quite a lot of natural color shifts happening anyways, and I thought, especially with my orange solid, it would look too blocky if I would use that as a black background color. I just decided that I would use my handspun as a background, and the other 2, which one of them is also handspun, as the foreground color, and just swap those out one by one. And I think that was a good decision. And also, I think it was the best decision based on how much yarn I had, because I don't think this would have been enough to actually use as a background color. And yeah, that wouldn't have been fun. Then I would have to get into like the more pinky bits that are still remaining from this spun, but I don't think colorways that would have blended so nicely. But yeah, so let me talk about this hand spun a little bit. So yeah, what you've seen is actually only me purchasing some fiber. And I showed you a picture of a hand spun that I found on Ravelry by accident that I just really loved the color of and everything. And my plan was to dye for that on some merino yak that I got. And I did a test dye on some merino yarn fiber that I had already in my stash. And yes, and this is the hand spun I made with that fiber. And I don't have these stats off the top of my head. It's definitely a sport to DK weight yarn. It's very barber pole-y with the three main colors that I have, like orange, yellow, gray, blue. This end of the spin was definitely the most mixed. I had like the main portions I used had a lot of blues in it. Also kind of solid blues where there was no yellow in it. So yeah, I'm super happy how the hand spun turned out, and I'm also very happy how it turned out in this cowl. There was actually like in the beginning, especially like a fun thing that happened. Like this is where one section ends, and this is basically also where the color shift happened in my hand spun. So that was just like a happy coincidence that those sections sort of aligned with the colors I had in my hand spun, which I just like. I like these coincidences. But yeah, so I can put this one on to show you. So it's kind of a big cowl, sits very loosely around your neck. And yeah, easy to style. You just throw it on. I think it'll be super nice, like again in the warmer, in the colder season, in a jacket where you can squish it up to your neck. You have lots of material here, but at the same time, you can open it up to let your neck breathe if it gets too warm. So yeah, I really like this. I think I'm going to have to take it off again though, because the sun definitely has some strength to it. I'm just realizing my chair is squeaking like crazy, so I hope that's not too distracting. Okay, so that was all my finished objects. And yeah, again, the sweater I already finished back home, which was like we left around the time I uploaded the previous episode. By the way, I'm sorry for the low edit on that episode. I started editing it normally, but then things just got too much, like with packing for the trip, and there was a lot of organization, as you can imagine, with COVID and all that. Just a lot of paperwork. Me being pregnant, I needed to get some stuff, so I just got distracted. But I really wanted to upload the episode before I leave, because I was planning on recording one on the trip. But then there is not a gap again, because yeah, as I just had the case, I already filmed something and then I didn't include it because I didn't edit it. La 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 la. So I really wanted to just throw it up, so I just left the edit as it was. I think I just barely finished it, exported it, and put it up to YouTube. I didn't even put a thumbnail or anything, which I usually do, or an Instagram post. But it's up, so we don't have a gap, and it's all nice and in a row. And yeah, I was thinking of maybe editing this one on the flight back, or then just shortly after we land at home, because I'll be in my mat leave and I'll be having hopefully a little bit of time before the little one arrives. But yes, where was I? Works in progress. So I'll show you the one that I've already held on the camera last time, and I'm dearly hoping now I'm not in the middle of the row again, because That would be sad. Where am I? Oh, yes. I finished a row. I'm very, very happy. Oh, but I lost some stitches. Hang on. Okay, there we go. So this is the half and half wrap by Pearl Soho, which I looked at the last time. It is Pearl Soho. I was correct in thinking that. And yeah, the last time you've seen this, I started with the gray section. I was probably like this far. I can show you. Actually has quite the big wingspan. I would say like about a meter. So it'll be a nice size for a baby blanket because I'm not planning on using this as a wrap, but as a baby blanket for the little one that's due in 6 to 7 weeks. And yeah, I finished the first half where I used Quick Strick High Twist Merino Superwash yarn. Now I'm using stitches on the other end in 2 colorways, which I don't have the names of. It was an advent calendar, but it's kind of a semi-solid gray that I faded into a speckled or semi-solid blue-gray. And I finished that back home because I only wanted to bring the green handspun on this trip. And yeah, the green is basically what I knit on this trip. And I'm actually pretty far. There's less than 40 increases to go. So that's pretty good. I mean, the rows get pretty long up here, but I find it a very relaxing knit. It is garter stitch, so just knit stitch, or stockinette stitch back and forth. It's not stockinette. It is garter, so it is a knit stitch back and forth. And yeah, the only thing you need to do is really pay attention on both ends that you include the next stitch. And something I added to the pattern that's not in the, which is a free pattern, by the way, is this I-cord edge where you slip the last 3 stitches when you come this way, and then you turn it around with your yarn in front, and then you knit those 3 stitches, and that creates this beautiful I-cord edge, which I like a lot because it gives a very clean finish on the side. I didn't do a cast on, and I wanted to look up if there's actually like an I-cord cast on that I could have done here. I mean, I'm obviously not going to rip the whole thing out just to do an I-cord cast on. I think what I will do is just put an I-cord on this edge as well, because I do have some of that gray left, and I'll bind off with an I-cord with the green, which I know works because I just did it with a shift cowl that actually has the same kind of edging, which I thought was kind of funny. I didn't notice that before, but it also has this I-cord edge, which is really nice. Makes for a very clean finish. So yeah, I expect to be done with this fairly soon. This is what I've been mainly knitting on this trip because this is on a 3mm. Is this 3mm? Oh no, 275mm needles. Metal, and I'm a little bit nervous about taking this on the plane, so I'll leave this in my main luggage for the flight and take my other work in progress, which is on wooden needles, on flight in my hand luggage to knit on. I mean, I think it would be fine with the metal needles, but you never know, and since they're fairly skinny, I really don't want them to take my project away, and I kind of planned this other one to be my on-flight knitting, and I had the shift cowl on the way here, which was also on wooden needles. So kind of a little bit of planning on my part there. Yes, so let me talk about that project, which I also already cast on at home, but didn't really knit on. Okay, so my camera overheated, so let me do this section again. And I think I'll have to hurry a little bit because my daughter is stirring, and if she gets up, we'll have to finish this with her playing mini pet here on the balcony as well. So yes, we don't need that interruption as well. So yes, what I was just showing you was my last work in progress, which I also started back home, but just to get it started and have it as plain knitting, is the Up North cowl by Jill Zielinski. I am making this for the daycare mom of my daughters. Since we're switching into kindergarten in August. And yeah, my daughter really loved going there. So I really appreciate what she did for us. So I wanted to say thank you in this way. And she likes wearing things around her neck. So I chose this pattern. And yeah, I got two yarns for this. They're both Wollmeise in the blend base, which is a merino cashmere nylon blend. Very, very soft, squishy. And yeah, and the colors I have are heavy metal, which is the basically black background color, and the foreground. I'm blanking on the name. I'll put it in the doodly doos down here if I can find it. If I'm editing this on flight, probably also not. So you have to excuse me a little bit for all this episode, but it'll be in my projects on Ravelry for sure. But yeah, I really like this. Reminds me, and I said this when I talked about my planning this project. Reminds me of like Native American patterning, very bold, very high contrast. So yes, and there's like two versions to this cowl. You can do a one-time wrap or a two-time wrap. And in the pattern, she has you repeat like from here to here is basically one pattern repeat, and she has you do that twice for the one-time wrap. But I kind of felt like that would be a bit too much. Then it's like very, very open. So I wanted to be like a snug-ish fitting one. So I decided to actually not repeat this section again and just have this one again. So that's what I'm doing. I repeated this up here. Now I'm having the arrows, which I may point the other way. And then I'm probably I'll see how the length ends up once I'm done with the arrows. If I just have the arrows kind of pointing from each other, sort of change the pattern a little bit that way, or if I'll put one more repeat of this section in between those and then finish it off. But either way, I basically just brought this up as far as I thought would be good. So I still have something left over on flight, but at the same time, I need to get this done before the new baby arrives, because that is technically before we switch the daycare. So that's when I need to gift this, and I really don't want to miss that deadline. But I think it should be fine. It's fairly quick knit. It's sport weight yarn, and yeah, the pattern is fairly intuitive, so it's not very hard to keep track of it and knit it. And it gives me some nice exercise knitting stranded again for my blanket project, which will be the next color work on my needles for sure. But yeah, this is where I am. Really liking this, liking the colors now. I mean, yeah, I told you it's not quite what I had in mind, but I still think it's beautiful. So I'm sure she'll appreciate it. And yes, I hope I can show this once it's done again. I hope I'll record another episode before I have to give this away. If not, I'm sorry, and I'll take a nice picture. But yeah, here we are. And yes, that is all my active knitting. As I said, I have two acquisitions, which I quickly wanted to show. And one being knitting related and the other one not. And here my daughter comes. So sorry, hang on. Okay, sorry for the interruptions. My daughter's awake now, eating her breakfast right now. So let's quickly finish this off. But yeah, I went to a yarn and fiber festival in Fergus 2 weekends ago, I believe now. And yes, and I just had to buy something. The colors weren't quite up my alley on this fiber festival. It was like very pastel and neon, which seems to be the spring trend. I don't know. But it was really nice. Like they had animals there. It was very, very small. I think it was the first one, which they hope to be an annual thing. And they just fenced off like a little section of the street and had, I don't know how many, probably like around 30 stands there, ranging from fiber producers, dyers, and yarn dyers, fiber dyers, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I really enjoy buying hand dyed fibers, and that was what I was looking out for. I was really hoping to get some Cormo because that's a North American breed, but I didn't find any Cormo on the entire festival. So I guess it's not really a Canadian thing. Maybe it's really an American thing. But yeah, I just really wanted to get something. So I ended up with this one here, which is a Falkland, 100%, I'm guessing, because it doesn't say anything else. The color is called Water Reeds, 140 grams, and the dyer is 3 dog knits fiber orts, 3DK. Well, like totally blown out now. Well, now you might be able to tell. And yes, you can take it out of the bag so we can look at this beauty. I let my daughter choose because she likes blues, so that's nice. And yeah, I'll probably make something for her with this. And I'll see. I never spun Falkland or I never knit with Falkland either, but it's like a light blue and neon green braid. Maybe I'll mix it with something together. I guess I have a little bit of a think on what I want to make for my daughter and then decide if I'll need more yarn than the 140 grams for it or not. And then I guess if I mix it with something, I guess I could mute it down a little bit, although for a kids wear, nice bright colors is sort of fun anyways. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, and it's natural, no superwash. So that's good. Looking forward to spinning with this. So this was my little souvenir of that fiber festival. I just had to get something. I was like, by the end of it, it was like, because before I was a bit scared that I would get too much. We were very tight on our weight because my husband has quite a bit of stuff still here that he wants to bring back home. So I didn't want to get too much, but in the end, I had nothing. And I was like, oh, that can't be it. So I ran back to this one um, fiber dyer. They also had yarn, the 3 dog knit stand, and purchased some fiber there. And yeah, and the other one is something more along my art journaling hobby. And I got some brushes at Michael's. You get to North America as an artist or crafter, you just have to visit Michael's. It's impossible for me not to visit Michael's, even though I didn't really need anything. But then I remembered that they carry these brushes, which is the Zen Royal Langnickel brand, and I really, really like them. They're not like especially good or anything. I mean, they sell them as level 2 brushes. They're acrylic brushes, and yeah, they're kind of cheap. Like I think like $4 to $6, varying on size. And I got 4 sizes. 3 of them are like kind of flat heads, and one of them is a dagger shape, which I also really like for like getting into like little nooks and crannies. But I really like flat brushes for art journaling, especially because I feel like I have more control with them. And yeah, and I think this one I already own, so this is a period replacement. This one I might also already own, maybe slightly different width. Let me tell you about the width. So this one is 6 millimeters. I think the next in size is 8 millimeters. The dagger is 10 millimeters, and then I got a bigger one, which is 19 millimeters. And this is basically just, this is a perfect size for like gluing, like putting, what's that stuff called? The glue, medium, matte medium. These things are perfect for putting matte medium down, but I also like these for actually painting with. So this is going to be for painting, and the one I currently have that's already been a little bit misused for glue will just become my glue brush. So because those obviously tend to get a little bit gunked up. Yeah, so I thought I stock up on these, and yeah, that is my little Michael's purchase, which I also thought is not going to take too much space in my luggage. I was really looking at the colors, but I have so many acrylic colors going at home. I think I should actually get back into making some art, which I think that's just the thing. I mean, that's why I lost my knitting mojo. I mean, either I lost it because I was more making more art, or I was making more art because I wasn't knitting as much. But basically, those two kind of take each other's place. And so I guess whenever I'll lose my knitting mojo or my art mojo comes back up, the knitting mojo will go down. So we'll see. I'm kind of hoping to get a bit more art done once I have more time now that I'm off work. But we'll see about that. But yes, that basically sums up my episode. My daughter is coming to say hi. She's done with her breakfast. So yeah, thank you for watching. And I hope next time the sound will be better. I really hope this is not too rural with the street noise. And but yeah, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And I'll see you around next time back in Germany. Bye bye.